I'm burning. Hello everyone, my name is Stanislav Glazov. I'm a Russian guy living in Germany and doing visual effects and real-time graphics since 1998. And today I want to share some of my artistic projects and also to speak a bit about my educational activity and present a new workshop called How to Touch. So first I just show some of funny effects I developing in TouchDesigner for real-time usage, like this real-time fluid effect for burning, and then I will show how I was using these effects in different music video productions and music streams, which became very popular during pandemic times. And okay, it's working a bit faster right now. And then I also want to show some of my bigger projects and some examples of my some examples I prepared for workshop. But first I want to introduce a bit why I decided to speak about Houdini and TouchDesigner. So I'm working in computer graphics since end of 90s, and since that time I was learning different 3D programs till I met Houdini, and till now, it's already more than 20 years passed. I think Houdini is most progressive concept, and derivative TouchDesigner is how to say, son of Houdini, which became also very futuristic and very user-friendly for artists. And I was working with Houdini a lot of years till I first opened TouchDesigner and realized that actually after my Houdini experience it's quite easy to switch. And then I realized that it's actually very cool to combine both programs together and use advantages of both of them and combine them all together in one pipeline. And actually my idea about the workshop became the reason to develop a new pipeline where we can use the strong sides of all the software and maybe also to add a bit of Unreal Engine for simple photorealistic visualization, because rendering in Houdini is quite slow, and TouchDesigner, so you can do a lot of photorealistic stuff in TouchDesigner, but it's still not that optimized for creating complex 3D walls. So actually right now we have Houdini engine, which gives you possibility to integrate procedural assets inside of Unreal or Unity if you want. And we have also touch engine for Unreal, so we can use interactive data and logical processing from TouchDesigner, where it's much easier to develop than in Unreal blueprints. And we can combine this all together in one amazing pipeline adapted for artists which has not so much programming background. I want also to show some diagram. So that's kind of my concept how we can work using these three programs together. So we have Houdini, where we can easily generate complex procedural geometries and do a lot of complex dynamic simulations. We have a bunch of workflow how to bring data in between Houdini and TouchDesigner. So first, logically, over these years, Houdini and TouchDesigner developed a lot in different directions, but still they have a bunch of formats which can be used for data import. So we have H-Classic for geometry. We have animation formats where we can share animation data between TouchDesigner and Houdini, and we can. There is some mistake in the diagram, so all arrows here should be pointed in another direction. So we have FBX, USD, Alembic, and OpenEXR for sharing the geometrical data and complex send data between these programs. So what for positive sides of TouchDesigner is first real-time rendering, then it's amazing software for media management. It's super amazing software for doing real-time rapid UX prototyping and development on different applications. We can use a lot of sensors like Kinects, RealSense, LiDARs, etc., etc. We can use TouchDesigner for control of robots and motors, lights, lasers, and it's very cool to integrate it with Ableton or synthesizers for making music and audiovisual productions. Also, we have support of industry standard like Substance Designer, where we can do a PBR textures for Houdini, TouchDesigner, and Unreal. So it's all integrated. And we can use Houdini engine, like I said before, and Touch engine for Unreal, and also NDI for sharing video to send data to Unreal and back to TouchDesigner. So that's kind of my concept, and I try to bring so much than possible of this concept to upcoming workshop. So now I want to show you some interesting stuff I've done in TouchDesigner. Logically, for generating complex geometry, TouchDesigner is not that flexible like Houdini, because TouchDesigner's geometry context corresponds to Houdini of state 2001. And it's not so much integrated in GPU rendering, but we have GLSL, and since I've started to develop complex stuff in TouchDesigner, I had to learn GLSL programming. But then I found a way to make complex geometries using geometry shaders, and yeah, it's give me possibility to make interesting stuff, like, for example, one second, yeah, like this shader. So it's using the OpenCV to find the feature points, and I done my own Plexus shader, which generates geometry on graphic card. And since I've developed this solution, I use it for a lot of different productions. For example, so I can show you some music video. Okay, that was a music video we created last year for the Berlin artist MST, and yeah, it was mostly done as a post-processing, done completely in TouchDesigner, so without any interactive data. And for some of shots we used Kinect to capture the point clouds. There is a cool question in chat, so I will read it. So you are using Houdini for modeling, and then you pass the model to TouchDesigner for real-time point color, etc. attribute manipulation, or you make the animation in Houdini and you pass send to TouchDesigner with animation ready. So basically, I've used it a lot of. It depends on the task. So sometimes for example, in one project I was doing the Antarctica break scene. So it was animation of some breaking of ice, and I baked the two stages of animation in different point attributes, and then I I made animation in TouchDesigner and Jelly Cell Shader, just blending between these positions. So because it was only a real-time solution. In some situations, I'm just exporting the points with attributes to TouchDesigner and then use instancing. So it depends on the task. Also, in a lot of cases, for example, last 2 weeks ago, I was doing a very hardcore timing project. It was a video mapping for some festival in Russia happening right now, and I needed to make 4 minutes of computer graphics in resolution of 9,000 points by 1,800. So I've done all simulation in Houdini, but after I just tried to make a first rendering in Houdini, I realized no, it's no way, I will never manage to make it. So I just started, after that I started to make all renderings in TouchDesigner. So I want also to show you this project. Okay, so I can show you some kind of making of this project. That was, for example, the simulation part done in Houdini. So I've got it was a quite interesting task because from one point all mapping was done as a 2D map, but I wanted to make a simulation in 3D space, so I spent some time to develop a solution how to make the mapping between two spaces together. So I was preparing two setups and was using the UV coordinates to transform the simulation done in 3D space, then back to 2D space. Then it was used some grow algorithm, so I can show it here. So it was some scattered points scattered on the surface using the near point vex function, where blending over the surface space, and then I used the particles to grow the points. Then I done a lot of point attributes, and then I used the original UV coordinates to bring these points back to the to the projection mapping, and exported this animation to the hard drive is a BH Classic format supported by TouchDesigner. Then I have to open the TouchDesigner project. 1 second. Where I put instanced geometry of crystals to these points and render it in this super high resolution. Rendering was done not at really real-time speed, but it was still significantly better than any way to any solution available in non-real-time rendering. So on the end it was 3 frames per second. Actually it was faster, but right now it's too much of different programs opened, and also I'm doing the screen recording, so it also takes some processing power. But it was like around 10 frames per second, which was actually okay for making 400 frames rendering. But in case I was using something like, so I was trying to render it on Redshift, and 1 frame took around 40 minutes with Redshift. So, another question in chat: should we know Houdini on basic level before we start the course? I designed the program of the course that way that you don't need any knowledge of Houdini or TouchDesigner, so it starts from very basics, but then it goes to relatively advanced topics. And because of that, I split the program to 3 blocks, so level 101, level 102 and 103, and you can choose levels you want, so you can book all 6 months or 4 months or 2 months. Another good question, if STD has a good procedural modeling environment, would you use Houdini? TouchDesigner is quite limited, so it's very similar to TouchDesigner is very similar to Houdini, but it's very limited. So you still can do some procedural modeling there, but for more complexer things, actually Houdini is much better solution. That was also the reason to make this workshop. Okay, so I can close two patches. I want to show also very cool thing I've designed in real time. It was also very well covered in my script SOP workshop. So finally I spent some time to install SkyPy and different Python modules to TouchDesigner and developed the almost real-time Voronoi triangulation. Almost real-time because it depends on input geometry and quality level, but yeah, we can make this geometry as a true geometry, so it's not a post-processing shader, actually it's a real geometrical information. I can try to reduce a bit the detail level, then it will work a bit faster. So now I have too much of features, so maybe I will limiting for 300. But now it's producing a real geometry. And yeah, it's not really real time, but it's still much faster what you can do somewhere else. And I was using this patch for one video streaming of Presha, who is the owner of Samurai music label. So I can show you. Regarding the links to the workshop, I will send all information in chat later, so don't care about that. And I just want to show you some parts of this streaming where I used a lot of different TouchDesigner effects, all in sound synchronization. And now my favorite part. So I will not spend too much time showing the full movie. It's 1 hour long, also very cool drum and bass set. But yeah, I integrated here so much of my TouchDesigner developments as possible. Okay, so let me switch back. I also want to show you some theater project we done last year in Berlin. It was kind of hardcore pandemic production because it was some window where some performances were allowed, and we were doing during the first lockdown a lot of rehearsals and development, and then it was free performances during this window. This theater project was initiated by Russian choreographer Alexander Abdukarimov, who is working in Berlin theaters, and it was based on new sensors which are not still not on the market. It's called MICTIC. It looks like armband clock, and returning some MIDI data about the rotation of hands. And I will show you some movie. Okay, now I will switch to TouchDesigner to show how it was done. And so I have an Ableton project here, and for development of effects we recorded once all sensor data, so it's all this MIDI here, and then for the final performance we were switching back to the interactive data from sensors. And yeah, click play somewhere here in the middle. So for this effects I've used also a lot of these geometry shaders to make it working fast. So I'm using this Plexus shader a lot. And I was using the amazing TD Ableton solution, which give me possibility to synchronize all animation very detailed. So it was a combination of interactive simulations, interactive animations, and pre animated stuff, in order to get some kind of dramaturgy working. But also cool that actually more than half of music was also interactively generated in Ableton using these sensors. Funny way, the reaction of public was strange, because almost no one realized that it's actually interactive project. But yeah, I think the traditional theater crowd is not that learned to this interactive stuff. Okay. So I want to continue, and I want to show you some another projects. And now I want to show you a bit of projects where I was intensively bringing my Houdini experience back, because last years I was mostly concentrating on working with TouchDesigner, and lost a bit of connection to Houdini. And last year I was doing the music video for amazing American artist Believe Defect, and we were capturing the point clouds from the Buto performer Valentin Zin, who has also birthday today, and then we used TouchDesigner for recording and conversion of this data to Houdini, and then I used Houdini for simulation of different animations, different visualization with point cloud, and used TouchDesigner for post-processing and compositing. And this music video is still not released, so I will show you just a part of it. And yeah, I spent a lot of sleepless nights to find different ways how to make this visualization fast. And actually this production took me to an idea to make this workshop too. So I will stop now for this movie. Unfortunately, some weeks ago, hard drive where all project was backed was broken, because actually I wanted to show you the project and what is inside and how it was done. But I was continuing working on visualization of Kinect data in 3D. And I want to show you some another project. So I was capturing myself, and I was doing different visualizations. I continue to research how to process this Kinect data by using TouchDesigner alone and Houdini. So for example, I was capturing the point cloud, recreating some kind of surface. So I managed to make relatively clean surface in Houdini. In TouchDesigner I have also some solution where I process the point cloud data by geometry shader, which give me possibility to clean up the point cloud a bit and make much smoother normals. But in Houdini it's logically much more detailed. And then on top of this geometry, I'm doing different visualizations and different effects, like for example this animation done using the sphere packing algorithm. It's working also very well on animated surface. So, and then I copying the spheres on top of these points, or exporting these points to TouchDesigner for rendering. Then I have also another interesting things which take some time to process. Right now I can also show you the rendered version. That was an interesting effect where I generated some kind of metallic plates using the Voronoi triangulation and VDB surfaces, VDB volumes. Then it was another interesting stuff. Second. This kind of metallic fluid surface. And all of these researches will be like an example for the workshop. I recently bought free Kinect Azure, so finally I can start to make the 360 degrees scanning. And I also want to bring it to the topics of workshop after I finish the research in this way. This is also an interesting effect. Okay, so what I wanted to show else. It's also the picture I used for the cover for this open talk. It's done as a the Houdini has an algorithm called height fields. It's a special type of volumetric surfaces designed for creating of landscapes. and I was doing the ISO lines generated as a tracing of this head field and visualization of it. So quite nice effect. Actually, this effect was created using completely the same principle. So basically you can find all these effects in my Instagram, where I've posting last time all my developments. About the question if it's possible to do procedural modeling in TouchDesigner, this effect I found very cool. It's done completely in TouchDesigner, so I'm a big fan of cyberpunk and all these head-up style displays, and I've started to make a lot of researches how to make it all in TouchDesigner in real time. So that's all interactively reacting to my mouse now, and it's done completely in TouchDesigner. So in TouchDesigner you still can do a lot of generative and complex geometries. And as an input for this piece, you can take not only mouse but also like Kinect data, OpenCV. So I was, for example, using this for visualization. So I took the face recognition data and put this circle around the face. I will show a last artistic project which we started to do last year, and now I've started to redevelop this project using Unreal. In this project, first version was rendered completely in TouchDesigner, and I was using a bit of Houdini to generate geometry. And then I started to make more complex version in order to get photorealistic feeling. And I developed two digital assets in Houdini and then imported them to the Unreal. I will not load Unreal now because it will be too slow, but I can find some pictures of visualization, or you can see it in the course trailer. So what is very cool that in Houdini you can do a digital asset. Basically it's kind of new type of object, and it gives you a possibility interactively change different parameters and easily generate completely different versions of geometry created on the same principle. And Unreal, so because of Houdini engine, you can load this asset directly in Unreal and generate new versions of geometry in Unreal without opening Houdini. That is very cool pipeline, improving the speed of your work a lot. And it also logically will be part of the course. And last thing I want to show you is first I doing a special promo code for you, so you can have like 15% discount for the workshop. So I posting the link to the workshop in chat with discount. We will start the course at 4th of February, and we do one session per week. And also very cool news, if you want to learn and subscribe to the full length of course, I got the agreement with both SideFX and Derivative to get the educational licenses. So if you subscribe for the all full course for the 6 months. So the time of course, so we start at 7 p.m. on Berlin time, so Central European time, and do around 3-4 hours per session. We have a Discord server where we have chat, which is existing in between the sessions, and yeah, all information about the sessions, links, files, whatever are posted there. Then after every session I record the sessions and upload the project files and screencast for the students. Yeah, unfortunately I have to get the VAT, which is Mehrwertsteuer on German. So, and a bit of program. It's easy to find the workshop. It's how to touch at eventbrite.com. So we have first level, we do first day very detailed introduction to the interface both of TouchDesigner and Houdini. Then we create a basic 3D scene and rendering in Houdini, exporting this project to TouchDesigner with FBX, learning a bit the rendering workflow in TouchDesigner. Then we dive to very strange topic, compositing basics using Houdini compositing network, and comparing it to the TouchDesigner top network. Then we learn animation. Then we start to work with content playback in TouchDesigner. Then we start to work with geometry. In level 102, we continue to work with procedural geometry in both Houdini and TouchDesigner, but with we do a lot in Houdini. We're also starting to, then we're going to topics of instancing. Then we're going to simulation, also learning particles and bullet dynamic in TouchDesigner, and finally coming to the dynamic network in Houdini. And level 103, we speak about rendering. I also plan to bring here a bit of basics of redshift rendering. We have a bit of Substance Designer. We have a bit of GLSL coding. So it's not really planned to go deep to GLSL, but I have to bring you a bit of GLSL at least. Then we're starting to work with digital assets both in TouchDesigner and Houdini. And we're going to work with Kinect, sensors, interactivity, and user interfaces in TouchDesigner. And as the end of my presentation, I want to show the trailer, which I've done last week. So I spent a lot of time to create this trailer.